Hi, I'm Molly Matthews. Welcome to Job IQ, Career Outside the Box. Today we're talking to my favorite vegan chef. Hi, Leigh. How are you? Tell us a little bit about how you became a vegan chef.
Well, I had had a long career as an environmental nonprofit professional, and it was more than a job, it was a mission. This was what I felt like I was supposed to do with my life in order to make a difference. And had been in that nonprofit sector ever since I had finished my master's degree in my 30s. So I had invested a lot in that career. However, eventually, a few years ago, I met my now husband, and he began to say to me that he would like for me to travel with him more often. So maybe I shouldn't be working that stressful nonprofit job anymore. And I, at the time, was in fundraising, which can have its level of stress. And as a matter of fact, I sort of began to feel as though it was time for someone else to take over that position, that I had done the creative things that I knew to do there, and perhaps it was time for someone else to step in and take the position in a new direction. So eventually, he between what was happening on the job and what he said, he convinced me. So I resigned the position, and then the question was, what now? I didn't really see myself as retired. Felt young to be going into that stage of my life.
We actually hardly ever use the R word here.
Right. And so it seemed like there was another chapter that I was going to enter. So I did some personal coaching with people and took a third chapter course.
Wait, excuse me, were you coached or you were doing coaching?
I was being coached.
You got a coach, okay.
I found a personal coach, and as I said, I took this class at my Unitarian congregation on starting the third chapter of your life, and I liked thinking about it in that sense. So the question was, what was that going to be? And I had wanted to learn how to cook better for quite some time. I had been vegetarian for decades, and so thought it would be nice to learn how to do a plant-based cuisine. So one thought that my husband and I initially had was that I would train to be a chef, and perhaps at some point we would open a B&B with a plant-based cuisine as one of the selling points. However, after I enrolled in the plant-based cuisine course, we also took a weekend seminar on having a B&B, and recognized that at this stage in our lives, it would be a lot more to bite off than we wanted to chew, with many other things happening in our lives, like grandchildren and his other businesses. So I completed the curriculum and then have looked at what to do with the chef's training since then.
So you did a certain amount of research and preparation before you made a pivot in your career.
Well, I did the research in the middle of it. So I did not know at the time I quit the job what the next step was going to be. And so the coaching and the class, and I joined a women's group that was entitled Women in Transition. So I did all of that, and then began to look at where I could learn plant-based cuisine. And the story is, it's not everywhere. I think that will increase, but at the time that I was looking, I found one place that I could get a chef's certificate in plant-based cuisine, and it was not here.
Where was it?
Well, fortunately, it was mainly online. So there's a school in Colorado called the School of Natural Cookery, And they had been brick and mortar for many years, but had begun to believe that many students wanted access online. So I was in one of the first classes to test this new concept, where we had videos to watch and assignments to complete and weekly webinars with the instructor. And then twice during the course, and I would not have done it without this, but twice during the course I had to go out to Colorado to do what they called studio sessions.
How long from when you left your job to the point where you were getting training, how long did it take you to make this transition?
That was maybe only about 4 months.
4 months? Now describe exactly, I know what you're doing, but for the people that are listening, describe exactly what you're doing now. What has this led to?
Well, so the first question that people will ask is, are you going to open a restaurant? And similar to the idea of the B&B, the answer is, no, I don't think so. The complication being that there are many other things that Mark and I want to do with our lives. And for one thing, a restaurant would require much night and weekend work, which is when he tends to be off. So I would, if I were to go that route, rarely see my fairly new husband. It's been 4 years, but we still sort of feel as though we're recently married. So I don't want to do something like that, and so the question is, what else would be possible? I've always liked to write, so a food blog became an obvious opportunity, and so I started that about a year ago now, and I have found various other things to do along with that. One is that I have recently become accepted as an Eat With chef. So Eat With is a platform that connects people who want to experience a community meal in someone's home. It's in 130 countries. They have a wide variety of cuisines that are offered, and including vegan. So I applied to be an Eat With chef in the Washington, D.C. area and was accepted. The first one I did was vegan versions of traditional American summertime foods. So we started with cauliflower hot wings as people came in, and then after everyone had finished the icebreaker exercise we gave them, then they sat down for the first course, which was a cold tomato soup similar to gazpacho. And the main course was carrot hot dogs, which it's hard to believe, but if you cook them just right and marinate them and put them on a grill and nestle them into a bun, they are very convincingly like a regular meat hot dog.
And they sound a lot better for you.
They are that. They were accompanied by a potato salad, which has whipped tofu as the binder rather than mayonnaise, and beans that I had baked for 6 hours. And then we finished up with black bean brownies, which once again sound hard to believe, but the black beans make a perfect binder for a brownie, and so with good dark chocolate, and I put an icing on them. They are very convincingly brownie-ish.
We shouldn't have been doing this right before lunch. It's making me hungry. So now you are fully into your blog. You are a certified vegan plant-based chef. What's it like? Are you glad you made the change?
Absolutely. It has helped me in a number of ways. One being that I've learned to take the plunge even when I wasn't sure there would be a net there. I dealt a lot initially with the imposter syndrome, particularly during the training. I felt nervous about saying I'm going to be a vegan chef It helped after I had the certificate in hand and had produced some food for people who seemed to be thrilled by it. But there was that lingering doubt, which just over time has eventually gone away.
Have you ever, when you were growing up or as you were doing your other profession, did you think of yourself as an entrepreneur?
Yes, in the sense that I tended to be executive director of nonprofits that needed to go to the next level.
So there was entrepreneurship in that.
I felt that there was.
Yeah.
But one way that it's helped me, and people are a little surprised by this, is that it helps me to deal with the current state of the world. So once again, by encouraging people to include more plants in their diet and less meat, then that helps once again chip away at that problem as well. So there are days that when I'm discouraged about the state of the world, then I post on my blog and say, okay, maybe someone will make a change based on me finding my voice and speaking out here.
So this feels like it's meaningful work beyond just something that you're doing to have a paycheck, or not even a paycheck, but just to get reimbursed. This is on a much more philosophical, meaningful scale for you.
Yes, and it didn't at first start out that way. It was as I got into it that I began to see these connections and began to realize that it was one way for me to, once again, instead of just having a job, be doing something that I felt made a difference.
Yeah. Switching tracks just for a minute, I've already asked you about skills, but were there other obstacles you faced in doing this? For example, are there health department regulations that you had to learn about, that type of thing?
Well, of course there is all of that, and I did not have to do this to get my chef certificate, but I went to the local community college and got my sanitation certificate, so I am a Northern Virginia food manager. And the other part of that is I'm currently in the midst of learning more about nutrition. So it's very possible to be a junk food vegan. Oreos are vegan, probably accidentally so, but they are, and there are many new foods coming out that are intended to attract those who are looking for that vegan label, but they are not necessarily as healthy as they could be. They may be high in fat, high in sugar, high in calories. So I am in the midst of a nutrition curriculum, plant-based nutrition, from Cornell. This is entirely online. There are no studio sessions for this, but I have completed 2 of the 3 courses that I need to take for that. And I have learned so much in that I really feel it could be important for chefs to understand the nutrition of the food as well. I thought I did before I started taking the class.
There's a lot more to it, huh?
Yes.
Yes. People that are 50 and over have challenges when they try to make changes, as you have so successfully done. Do you think there is discrimination in the workplace? And what should we do about it if you think that?
I don't know that I'm an expert on that topic because I'm trying to be, as you say, an entrepreneur, working for myself rather than going out there trying to work for someone else. Now, I will say that restaurant owners, upon hearing what I had done in my training, have handed me their card and have said, let me know if you decide to look for a restaurant job. So that gives me reason to believe that there would be opportunities there.
What would you tell someone who was thinking about doing an entrepreneurial venture, not necessarily in food, but in food, too? What would you tell someone who's listening to you and going, I might be able to do that? What would you tell them?
Well, so I asked myself that question, and I remember it was a car ride with my husband, and I said, well, should I do this or not? And his answer to me was, what have you got to lose? and what would you be giving up if you don't do it? So I thought he had a good point, and it was worth just taking the plunge to see what I could make of it.
So obviously you've made a lot of it. Best day and worst day since you started doing this?
Best day was probably the first Eat With meal that I did. 16 guests, so it was quite the challenge, and it was a plated meal, multi-course. So when everyone left and seemed to be happy as they departed, then that was probably the best day ever, to know that I could handle the kind of stress that someone encounters in a restaurant, to serve that many people at once.
A lot of people over 50 are interested in staying vital and active in meaningful work, but they don't want to work at the pace they have once worked necessarily, and they want to have time for balance, for family, for recreation, for travel. And you have come up with something that allows you to do that without being overwhelmed by it.
Well, that's exactly why I've chosen the route that I did, is that I have the flexibility to take care of my granddaughter 1 day per week while her mom works, and I also do quite a bit of animal advocacy work, which fits in well with the vegan chef idea. So being able to do a food blog or a dinner at the times that I choose has had that flexibility.
Exactly. When you realized you were going to get more education, was that intimidating or was that exciting for you?
It was exciting. I have always done well as a student, so I knew I would be on pretty firm footing with that. The slight challenge was taking the courses at the community college in the food, sanitation, and the hospitality and such, because as you might guess, I was one of the older students there. However, the young millennials and such in the classes with me were very friendly and welcoming, and appreciated the fact that as someone who's been through college and through grad school, I know how to do assignments. And when we had to do group assignments, I was popular as a group member, so that all worked out really well.
I've had the same experience with millennials, is that they are so welcoming. And once you start working on an assignment as a group, it's multi-generational, and it really doesn't matter how old you are. You're focusing on the assignment. So getting over that reticence to be a part of a group where you're clearly significantly older than everyone, good for you. It's great to do, isn't it?
Yes.
These are great answers. Thank you for being here. I'm Molly Matthews. Thanks for watching. You can subscribe down below and check out our website for more information. Thanks, and bye-bye.